Hi everybody, Mrs Fransisco here. Hope you're okay. We're moving on to the fourth video in this series about photography on your smartphone. Hope you enjoyed the last three. I'm looking forward to seeing photos that you've taken, practicing. As you know by now, photography is the way of capturing light in a given moment. Okay? So, and in order to get a good picture, these three things need to work together. So the shutter speed, so how fast or how slow the shutter opens and closes. If it opens and closes quickly, you're going to get less light in, therefore potentially resulting in a darker picture. If you've got it opening and closing very slowly, you're going to let more light in, but there's potential for it to be blurry. And that works alongside the aperture, so how wide the opening is. The wider the opening, the more light can be let in, and that might be beneficial in dark settings. Or if you're in bright settings, you might want a narrower opening, a narrower aperture. And then again, using that alongside the ISO, so how sensitive the camera's sensors are. Obviously, the more sensitive the sensors are, the more light can be captured, and the less sensitive, the less light. And that really depends, again, on the conditions that you're taking the photos in and what you're taking photos of. So those three things work in conjunction to take the best photo possible. And now we're moving on to focal length. So the focal length determines how much you can see within a photograph. The longer the focal length, so if you're looking at this orange in the middle of this diagram, the narrower the field of view, so you can see less of something in the photo, but it's going to be more magnified, so you're going to be able to see more detail. And I'll show you some examples of that in a moment. If you look at this diagram, we've got the ultra-wide angle, standard, telephoto, super telephoto. So ultra-wide angle, if you look at this one, which is 14mm, you can see that it has a wide field of vision, so what you can see in that photograph is wide ranging, wider than if you used a narrower lens. But you can't see as far back, okay? You can't magnify it as well. So anything that's too far in the distance is going to be blurry and not of good quality. And this might be able to help you understand what I mean. So if you look on the left hand side, we've got the camera, and we have one wide a particular lens on, and we're trying to take a photo of this dark green tree. So if we have one particular lens on and it's able to take a photo from the top of the tree to the bottom, and that is all we want in the photograph, that's absolutely fine. But if we wanted to use the same lens to take a photo of the light green tree, you can see if you follow these lines, you wouldn't be able to get the whole of the tree in. In fact, you'd only be able to get the middle of the tree into your photograph. So in this instance, you would want to change your lens to a wider lens, okay? A wider angle, so you can get the top of the tree in and the bottom of the tree, okay? So, ultra-wide lenses. I've put on the side the amount of zoom, the amount of magnification that the lens can do. These all relate to your iPhone or your smartphone, not in particular to the lens that we've got on the screen. So this lens is an ultra-wide lens that you would use with a normal camera. It's not particularly long. You can see the piece of glass there is quite bulbous, it's quite round, and that has some positive and negative aspects to it. So, and here is a telephoto lens. So these are the lenses that can magnify really, really well. This one probably magnifies ×8, okay? You can see it's very, very long, and it's got an inbuilt tripod adapter, okay? And I'll explain that in a moment. So why would you use these? Obviously, as with everything with photography, there's positives and negatives, and you have to weigh up what you want from your photo and how best to get that outcome. So the ultra wide lens, this one, the positives are, as I said, it's got a wider field of view, so you're able to see more in a photo. However, because it's got this bulbous lens, and it's not a flat piece of glass, the subject may be distorted. And the reason for that is that the light, when it's bouncing into the lens, because it's not a flat piece of glass, it's not entering it and continuing in a straight line. Okay, it's as it's entering, it's bending, it's refracting a bit, so you're not going to see in the image what you would normally see in real life, just looking at it through your eye. Okay, it also may affect the sharpness of the photo. So when say you were taking a photo of something that you knew had particularly defined edges, such as a building, you need to, if you haven't used the correct lens, you may see that it's not as sharp around the edges. Okay, it may be a little bit more blurry. So the telephoto lens, this one, it magnifies the thing that's the subject, or the thing that's having its photo taken. So these lenses are used in particular by wildlife photographers. So, for example, if you decided you want to go and take some photos of some foxes in a field, you wouldn't want to get too close as to where the foxes are living, because you're going to scare them away. So wildlife photographers tend to position themselves quite a distance from where they might see their subject or the animal, and they just wait until everything's calm, and that's when the animal appears. So if you're positioned quite a distance away, you're going to want a lens that can magnify without losing any of the definition in the animal. However, there are some negatives. Obviously, the lens is very, very long, because of the lens, actually, every time you zoom in, it's using lots of different lenses. So within that cylinder, there will be lots of different lenses that are working together. So the length of the lens may mean that the image is dark. So if you imagine that you're holding up the inner of a toilet roll and you're looking through it, it's going to be quite dark, because it's harder for the light to bounce, and it takes longer for the light to get to your eye. It's darker than if you, say, cut it in half and look through that. And again, if you then used a kitchen roll inner, which is like double the length of a toilet roll, that's going to be even darker still. So you need to bear that in mind when you're taking photos, that it's going to reduce how bright the photo is. And again, these photos taken with this lens can be blurry, because this lens is really, really heavy. As I said, it's got a few lenses within that. So when you're holding the lens, you're likely to wobble, which in turn means that when you're taking the photo, it will show you a blurry image. But just as it magnifies the thing that you're taking the photo of, so if you're taking a photo of a bird, if you can zoom right into that, not only does it magnify the bird, but it also magnifies your wobbles, your vibrations. So for that reason, I told you that it has this tripod adapter attached to it. And that means that you can attach a tripod, you can attach that lens to a tripod, so you can keep it as still as possible, and therefore reducing the how blurry the image could be. Okay. So if you're wanting to use an ultra wide lens on your phone, this is an iPhone, you'd open up your camera app, and you can see at the bottom, it's got 0.5 times, okay? That's how much the image is magnified. You know that if you're timesing something by 0.5, you're not actually timesing it, you're actually halving it, okay? So what you do is you would click on there, that's 0.5. If you click on it, it would go to 1 times. So that would just be, there's no zoom on it, it's just normal, just how you would see it in real life. And then if you hold down on that circle, another slider, like in the last few videos, appears, and it's more like a protractor, and you can move that to different focal lengths. So the most you can zoom in, you can magnify, is 5 times on an iPhone. Obviously, the more you're magnifying, because these iPhones haven't got all of the different lenses that you might have in a normal camera, the quality is going to be lessened. But anyway, I'll show you some pictures of how they work. So there's my lovely dog Bruce. He's looking very dapper there. Peggy wouldn't sit down, so I just thought, oh, I'll just have to take one with her looking the other way. And that is on the ultra wide angle. So you can see that he's in the middle, and we can see quite a lot around the outside. So we can see the light, a bit of outside, the chair, the plants. Okay, that's with the ultra wide lens. Then I got closer to Bruce and I took another photo. And this is where the problems lie with the ultra wide lens. That Bruce looks very, very cute in this photo, but the reality is his head's way too big for his body. Okay, normally his head isn't that size in comparison to his body. In fact, it looks like it's bigger than his body. Okay, so that's absolutely fine if you're taking a really cute picture of a dog and you just want to put it on Instagram. But if you're at a wedding taking photos of a bride, you obviously don't want the bride to have a head that's bigger than her body. Okay, so you really need to think like, what do I want to achieve with this photo? And then this is Bruce using the 5 times focal, that's 5 times, he's being magnetized by 5. Here he is, looking very handsome. You can see lots and lots of detail. You can see that you can see his whiskers, you can see his fur, like very detailed. You can see each individual bit of fur, you can see his eyes, but it's not a very wide field of view. So all you can see is his head. And between this picture and this picture, I didn't move at all, okay? So you can see how the field of view changes according to which lens you're using and how much you're trying to magnify. So what do I want you to do? Similar to what I did with Bruce, I'd like you to choose a subject in your house. So it can be a pet, a tin, such as a tin of beans, tin of soup, I don't mind. A DVD case. In fact, take it of anything that you want that you can set in one position and you can take photos of. Change the focal length of your smartphone and take some pictures of the subject using each focal length, okay? And then what I'd like you to do is look at each photo and tell me what you notice. So do you notice that it's got a wide field of vision, but it's not particularly detailed because it hasn't been magnified? Or is it that it's got a narrow field of vision, but you can see lots and lots of detail in the thing that you're taking the photo of? Once you've done that, so take your photos, write a couple of short sentences and explain what you found and then send them to me. Alright then guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and seeing your photographs. And yep, take care. Bye!